Saddle up your horses.
All right, pitter patter, let's get at her. I always hate doing that intro when Cam's not here, but you know what? I'm going to stick with it because consistency. Welcome back to another episode of the Mainly Broncos podcast. As you probably have noticed by not hearing Cam's voice, Cam is out today. He is currently in Ireland, where it is 3 a.m. And you know what? Sucks to be him because I don't know if he's going to be able to watch the Nuggets finals out there, but we'll find out. So it's just me and two guests tonight. We have both the illustrious John K. NFL and the beautiful and amazing Bobby Stevens.
So thank you.
Thank you both for joining. How you guys doing?
I'm doing fabulous. You know, I got to talk some CU football today. So for me, that was a good, I just love talking Colorado football. Besides that, I've really also enjoyed, was able to talk some CSU football. So football for me all day. So no complaints.
Did you just say you did CU football and CSU football? Is that what I just heard?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that allowed? Because
that is allowed. Look, I am a CU alumni. I will root for the Buffs first. But you know what? CSU, they're in the Mountain West right now. There's no reason to worry about them except beating them and humiliating them. Besides that, though, they can do their own thing.
Okay. Well, that you saved it a little bit. Coach Prime, if you're listening to this, John's address is just kidding. Yeah, no, that's always. I mean, anytime you could talk football, right? I mean, you can't go wrong with that.
Yes, exactly.
Bobby, how you doing?
I am well. Thanks you guys for letting me be part of the show. It's going to be fun tonight.
Absolutely, and yes, we are both wearing Broncos polos.
Yes, we are.
Because we are basic bitches.
Well,
good
you're
evening,
you're
Ray.
not wearing a hat. I'm wearing a hat. You don't have a hat, so.
No, I don't. Although I'm not gonna lie, I almost got mine. But no, I am not wearing a hat. Good evening, Ray. Thank you for coming. So we have quite the agenda. So what I would like to kind of start with here is the Broncos have made some moves. We have been going to the barrel, as it were, and looking for some players and getting rid of some players. So what do you guys think about, first of all, the biggest news, obviously, when we're talking about moves that we've made, is releasing Brandon McManus. How did you guys, where were you when you saw that news? Because I was on vacation. Last week I was on vacation. I went to Yellowstone. I took a week off of work, freaked me out a little bit, came back, still working on catching up. And I was just scrolling through Twitter, during the, basically while we were on the road. And I just saw, literally from Brandon himself, I've been informed by the team that they have cut me. And I think my first reaction was I copied that tweet and put it in the Mainly Broncos chat and was like, holy shit. What do you guys, how'd you find
it? My initial thought was the same thing. I just was scrolling through Twitter, did not expect any news that day from the Broncos, to be honest. And, you just happened to see that he was let go. For me, my first thought was this had to do with money. Maybe, some people thought it had to do with ego. So my initial reaction was a little bit of confusion. What was causing the reason for him to basically be let go by the Broncos. And for me, it took some time to try to figure out why. And I think it just came down to performance, which was, something that is always going to be an issue, and it should be. What about you, Bobby?
I was just on my phone and just saw that notification. I was just complete shock. Just the first thought that came to my head was, well, there goes our Super Bowl team right there, all gone. So it was quite a shocker, but hopefully, there's some good reason to it. And best of luck to Brandon going to Jacksonville for 1 year right there. So hopefully they'll do good to him, and he'll return the favor by give them some points.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, rip the dream. The entire Super Bowl 50 roster is now gone. Definitely had another different group chat of a bunch of Broncos fans that were freaking out over that. And also, rip to Brandon McMoney, another Brandon M. We there's dozens of us. Not really. There's probably so many more, but it was definitely a shock. Although, John, when you brought up performance, I mean that's definitely the reason here. I love Brandon McManus. I call him Brandon McMoney. I literally had to stop myself from saying Brandon McMoney there because he hasn't always been McMoney recently, and I hate saying it. But he's kind of been a bit meh, to be honest. And I can't bring myself to call him Brandon McMahon because I can't do that. He last season ranked as the 28th kicker among 34 with a minimum of 10 attempts within 50 yards, like inside 50 yards. He was the 28th best kicker in field goal success. That's unacceptable in the NFL. Like, you do that and you probably get cut, especially when you play at altitude.
Yeah. I mean, for me, that's one of the things where he's going to Jacksonville. Now he's going to be below sea level. So that's going to be interesting. But again, like you were saying, McManus has had trouble with some of those easy kicks throughout his career, to be honest. He's been, he likes to have some range and be able to kind of let the ball go and use his full power of his leg. And I think for everyone, we saw these past couple, I think, 3 seasons, we saw, a slight regression each time until this year where all of a sudden, those extra points weren't making it. And I think that's where I personally drew the line because I always felt, hey, at least McManus is money when it comes to those extra points, because let's be honest, the rest of the NFL, we're seeing a lot of kickers miss that. And it's very difficult for me. It's so difficult for me to watch, though. It really is. So, that's where it has to change for me. And that's why I think the move again had to be made. We need someone to be consistent on all fronts of the special teams.
Yeah, I agree with John right there. Just like I noticed it too. And I definitely think the whole Broncos nation definitely noticed the downslope. And unfortunately with last season and our downslope for that whole season last season, it definitely probably was time for a change. And we'll just see what happens, with Elliott. It's just going to be, I think it's going to be some good changes on there. So,
yeah, I feel like it's easy to get complacent with special teams because it's by far the least sexy side of the ball, right? But it's so important, as we've learned painfully over the past several years in Denver. Just overall in Broncos country, we've seen not great product put out on that side of the ball, and we've lost multiple coaches over it. So, now we have Mike Westhoff, though. Like Mike Westhoff. If anyone can make this special teams special, it's Mike Westhoff, who follows me on Twitter. Not to brag. Ray, I mean, I think we're all on the same page here. Like Ray saying he's old school. Kickers have 2 duties: kick the ball and keep your mouth shut.
So let me ask
you if Brandon was doing either of those.
Exactly. So if a kicker is also going to be very vocal, he's your NFLPA representative, how are you going to keep a guy like that on your team who is complaining, kind of throwing fits at certain times if he's not getting an opportunity to kick? Did that play to your emotions at all in terms of making it easier to let him go and move on for you?
For me, I mean, it did a little bit. I don't really. I'm trying to figure out how I want to word this phrase. I'm not one of those people that's going to be just kick the ball and shut up, or those guys that do that and right, nothing against you. I totally get where you're coming from, but I'm not one of those people that will at a player on Twitter and be like, oh, just do your job and don't talk about this other stuff, right? Yeah. And especially not to get too political, but that's where that kind of comes in a little bit. I don't know. I have mixed feelings on it. Say what you want to say, but at the same time, don't be a diva. There's already enough of those. They're called cornerbacks. We don't need more. And Brandon definitely was he was kind of getting there in terms of, I mean, he was obviously very vocal. But I think, did we have the most toxic special teams room in the league for a little bit there between Brandon and the ex?
I mean, we had Stooks.
I'm totally forgetting.
Waitman, Kobe Wadman.
No. The from the ex-Raiders guy.
I'm
totally forgetting his name.
Are you talking about
super
the coach?
Dramatic?
You're talking about the coach? Or
no, the actual punter, the player. I'm totally blanking.
Marquette King.
Marquette King.
Yeah.
Oh,
there we go.
God.
There we go.
Marquette
Sorry.
King and Brandon McManus, and I totally spaced on his name. I couldn't find it. Marquette King and Brandon McManus being in the same special teams unit.
I mean, Marquette King, I just have to say, he's still upset about it all these years after, and he's still going on it on Twitter. I see it come up. And don't get me wrong, I understand he had high expectations for his career going forward when he signed with the Broncos, but man, he's still going at it.
Well,
for sure,
right. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, McManus, for Super Bowl 50. Respect.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask you guys questions. The announcement now today came that Elliott Fry is our new kicker. Mm-hmm. What is your guys' opinion on that? Do you think it's going to be good? Do you think he's going to be good? Or
I think it's a big unknown, honestly. I got Mike Westhoff. You got your job cut out for you. One of the greatest special teams coaches in NFL history by a lot of standards in terms of just the respect that he has around the league. I'm not going to sit here and say I know more about him. Elliott Fry, you're next up. We'll see what happens. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have a lot of NFL experience. I mean, he's kicked 6 field goals, I think, in his career, which, I mean,
and then I
got him on a good deal.
3 teams and 2 teams last season with Cincinnati and Kansas City.
I think I saw something that he was waived 18 times or something. I mean, obviously they'd waive him and bring him back, but definitely interesting. Maybe there's something. There's something there that we just didn't unlock before. Maybe he didn't get enough opportunity. Well, now you get opportunity in very little air. So go out there and kick the shit out of it.
I mean, there's only 32 people that can get this position in the whole world in terms of kickers, and kickers tend to hold on to those positions for 10, 15 years once they make it in. So it's very hard for some of these younger guys to break through without being someone who is a real special talent that is somewhat obvious. But when it comes to this move, I think that the Broncos, with the 90-man roster, they can go ahead, see how he's doing early on in OTAs and in camp, see if he fits what's going on with the Broncos, and if not, you can go ahead and make a move, and then you can spend the more high priced money towards a kicker if the Broncos wanted to go ahead and do that way. I personally would like to have 2 kickers on, just because let's have them have competition. We're doing it across the board in every single capacity in every single room. Might as well have it in the special teams as well and keep that edge going.
Right.
That's a good point.
And I was looking at his stats too right now. He's only got 6 field goals. He played 1 game for each team. 5 for 6, so that's 83% right there, and then it looks like a total of 20 points. So I mean, you see that he's got something, but the one I was expecting was Brett from the Jets. When it's free agent, I was expecting him because of his experience and everything, but they must have saw something more for Elliott, which kudos to them for that. And I'm just looking forward to it, because all these changes that happened in the offseason, big one, of course, was Sean being our head coach. I was extremely happy for that. And of course, all the other coaches and some players, and not too much in the draft, but we got some decent guys. So I'm expecting a big change, but hopefully on the right side.
And to preview a little bit ahead of us, maybe a kicker who has the ability to, knock a kick out of the end zone such as much easier. Maybe those rules have kind of changed and that's not needed as much, but we'll talk about that down the line.
Can't wait for that. Yeah, that's going to be fun.
Evening, Clayton. Yeah, smash that Clayton. Like button. And if you're watching on Twitter, unfortunately, your comments do not show up here because we're going to blame Elon Musk. Just kidding, Elon. Don't ban me. But go to YouTube, go to MHRT Network on YouTube, and chime in because we want to hear what you think. Okay, so definitely some interesting news there. One of the other moves that we've made that I want to bring up before we move on here that has definitely gotten a lot of love in Broncos country is that we re-signed Cam Fleming, who honestly was kind of the most consistent right tackle that we've had in recent history, which is not a high bar, unfortunately. But Cam Fleming, what do you guys think about that? I mean, I think it's an excellent move. I don't think you can go wrong with that.
Bobby, why don't you go first here?
Oh, man. I mean, I'm
getting shout-outs, man.
I'm getting – thank you, Robert. I appreciate that. So I think it's going to be a good move. So I mean, that's all I can say. I think it's just going to be a good move. So I'm excited. Like I said, again, just all the changes that we got this whole off season. I'm just looking forward to just probably a step up forward to what's going to happen, and just forget about what happened last season, because last season was just a disaster in my opinion. And we made the right decisions. This is the next decision. This is the next good decision. So I'm just looking forward, and I think he's gonna show it on the field.
Probably the best swing tackle that
Absolutely
we can have. Clayton, no, you're good on Facebook. It's only if you're trying to chime in on Twitter, it just doesn't like it. But if you're on Facebook, you're good. Yeah, so that was an interesting move for sure. Glad to see Cam come back. I mean, yeah, you can't.
I think he was our.
You can't
best.
Lose. There's no downside.
Yeah, I think after we've seen him the last couple of years, I think one thing for sure is that he was our best player for the offensive line at the end of the year, I think. He had consistency even when he had to switch to the left side, like you were talking about. He can swing left side, right side. And for some other players, you can't switch your kickback leg or anything like that. It makes a huge difference. So
it was the famous quote, it's like wiping your butt with the other hand.
It really is like that. So I understand why some players cannot be able to do that. And I think that's one reason why the Broncos brought him back. And of course, it was a need. The Broncos have Bowles coming back from injury. We have to see how he's doing. And if not, I think this is a cheap, very high valued asset to have.
I say keep him around for the rest of his career. He's 30. Just sign him every year.
Yeah.
What do you want?
He's got potential still. Absolutely. Yeah.
So just like what we're doing with Kareem Jackson, which again, proof of that re-signing as well.
Wasn't that a one?
That was.
It wasn't over 1.5 million. It was very low deal, very team friendly deal. You don't see that from players. That means Kareem Jackson wanted to come back here to be a part of this team, to be a part of this culture, and see this team start to make a switch around. And I think he truly believes that it is almost his job to help bring along some of these safeties that have been drafted, your Stearns, your Skinners, bring them up to the Broncos expectation level. And I think that's just fabulous. You have a leader there in Kareem Jackson.
Kareem Jackson mentoring J.L. Skinner. Yes, please. Hook it into my veins.
I was going to say, those are the type of players that I like for a team. They don't care about the money. There's I want this team to be good, and I'm going to help you guys make the team better. So with whatever Kareem got, he's still like, let's do it. Let's go for it. I'm ready. That's the type of guys we want right there.
Yeah. Kareem, glad you're a Bronco.
Yes.
Please never leave until you retire. Awesome. Well, definitely made some moves there. The NFL also made some moves as an organization, and they made quite a lot of rule changes. The actual full list can be found at operations.nfl.com. If you really wanted to go through and look at every little tiny thing, it'll even tell you the section of the rule book that was amended, but we really want to focus on some of the big ones. The biggest one, just kidding, but really is players can now wear 0.
Yay. Yay. Another one.
Honestly, I love it. I want to see more 0s out there. I want to see 0s running around. Okay. Legit question. Quarterbacks can wear 0. According to this rule. Do you want a quarterback to wear 0? What would you think about that?
It would
what quarterback could pull off 0? I know I just asked.
I think it has to be the right quarterback to pull it off. I don't know. I can't think of a name that comes right off the top of my head that could do it. But I
can't see anybody wearing 0.
I don't know. I have to think about it.
Yeah. I mean,
that was interesting.
I guess I could see just Deshaun Watson wearing 0 because that, he's a 0 in my opinion. But other than that,
that's good.
Other than that, I couldn't see a quarterback going with this. And it's just one of those things where, are they going to have the opportunity? Because there's only one number 0. And I think other players are going to rush for trying to get that number, I think, especially. So I think
I bet there's a line right now.
Yeah, I mean, we already know who
the teams are on queue right now. Who wants 0?
Breaking news: Bomb Trady has unretired and will wear number 0 for some team in the NFL.
Raiders, definitely, probably.
I mean, the thing that got to me more was when hearing that Aaron Rodgers is going to switch to his college number 8, and that got me a little bit. That was a little bit too. I'm I'm so used to CC wearing 12, but out of respect, he went to number 8, which I think was a good decision. But it's still weird too to see another player wear a different number, kind of I don't know any other player out there really that did change that. But
Yeah.
it was kind of odd.
Let's get to Clayton here.
Clayton bringing the positivity. The only number he cares about is what's in the win column, and he's
There
seeing
you
10
go.
to 13. Respect, man. You can't ever. You know what? We're undefeated until we're undefeated every week. You win 1-0. You win the next week 1-0. Every week you're 1-0. You're undefeated until you're not. So you know what? We're gonna win 18 games. Why not? We're gonna sweep everyone. God, could you imagine? That would actually be ridiculous. We would have earned that. We earned that, Broncos country. If we sweep everyone this season, that's not my official prediction, but we paid our dues. Let us have it.
Yeah.
Anyway, but no, definitely. I mean, honestly, I'm so excited for the season. Like, I know we're talking about rule changes. Sean Payton, I don't even know if it can be overestimated how much of a difference he's made. Because
and he has rule changes himself.
Yeah.
Oh.
First thing
God.
about was it Russ's his own trainers, and he's like,
Oh yeah, bye.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that type of stuff. And I'm like,
yeah.
That was one of the first things that he was like, we're not having that. You're not having a separate office. This is a team. But there's so many aspects to that.
Well, and going off of that even a little bit here too, with like briefly going back to Brandon McManus, I feel like if Sean Payton was the coach last year, you're not having those situations where, especially the Seahawks game, Brandon's coming up and saying like, oh yeah, 50 plus yards, let me kick it. And Hackett, hiccups. Hackett is like, oh yeah, go ahead. Hackett's the pushover guy. Sean Payton's like, fuck you are. Sit back down. Anyway, no, I love Sean Payton. I'm so excited. I really want to see what happens when we have like a legitimate coach who knows what he's doing, who makes Russ into the quarterback that he should be and can be, but he clearly needs his hand held because he can't get there by himself.
Call him an old time coach. He's an old time coach.
Yeah.
That's what I like. It's old time coaches.
So, I'm with you, Clayton. That's going to be sweet. But yeah, I mean, if anyone, let me rephrase this question. Do you think anyone on the Broncos is going to wear 0?
We already know who's wearing it. Jonathan Cooper.
Oh, Jonathan Cooper. Yeah.
Yeah, he used to wear it at Ohio State. It's
totally forgot about that.
Yeah, it's kind of a tradition there with it. So number 0 is kind of is the O in a sense. So it's kind of a big number there, and it makes sense to give it to him versus a rookie. It just kind of makes sense, to be honest. Versus Skinner,
who of not having Wi-Fi in Yellowstone, I didn't see that. Sweet, I love that. Coop on 0, hell yeah. Go ahead.
And I don't know who else who would take it. I can't think of anybody.
No one's taking that from Coop, man. Coop will kill him.
No, I can't see anybody else but him.
Yeah,
that's insane. Yeah. I mean, although I will say tight ends can do it. Greg Dulcich.
Yeah, I could see him rock it. I mean, the big thing is a lot of players can't change to their number because, the financial reasons. And I think we've spoken about it before, but it's just immense what you have to do to be able to change your number if you're a big time player.
Yeah. Well, and then wasn't there some whole story about like some team, I don't remember what team or even what player, that player had to like contact the like they didn't retire the number, but they had to contact the last player that wore it, even though they were like no longer with the team, and like do some crazy stuff for them to get them to give it. Like I don't remember, but it was insane. But definitely interesting, and I mean, what's it hurt? Just let them wear whatever they want. Who cares?
Yeah.
So yeah, that one's interesting. Kickoffs. This one, I'm intrigued. To see what happens. So if you guys don't know, if you didn't see the kickoff change, first of all, this is a temporary rule change for now. It's only in effect for the next year, and then we'll see what happens. But basically, there is a resolution that allows someone to fair catch a kickoff at the 25-yard line as long as the kickoff was done behind the kicking team's 25-yard line. So basically, like we're kicking off against the Raiders, right? We kick it off from our 25-yard line or behind. They call for a fair catch at the 1. They can call for fair catch at the 1 and move the ball up to the 25-yard line. and that's it. Like they
Yeah.
don't have to run it out. They just move it up 24 yards, free
So-
24 yards.
So that takes away some strategy for a lot of those special teams coaches that we were talking about, a little bit earlier, that are a little bit unhappy with this, just because, again, all of a sudden you can't get a player to be, forced to take a kick and try to be held within maybe the 20-yard line like usual. All of a sudden, all these kickoffs are going to be at the 25-yard line. I get you're trying to reduce concussions. You're trying to reduce all those different things. But for me, it's taken away from the game of football. I'm almost at the point where it's like, if you're not giving them a fair opportunity to go after and go gain rid of wedges and all those different things again, then maybe we should just start the game at the 25-yard line as an option. That's almost where I'm at. Do you guys feel the same way? Because this is the way it's done in college.
Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. So the college has been played this way since 2018.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's different game, honestly. Like same game,
different speed. So I mean, that makes a difference.
I don't remember. I didn't actually get a chance to read it, although I did see that some players spoke out about like the fact that it really doesn't do anything. Like this doesn't changes nothing in terms of safety. Like it's not about safety. But it just seems too easy to take advantage of to me, like personally, unless I know if I know for a fact that I have a demon as my kickoff returner, I'm just like catch just fair catch it, get us to 25. Just fair catch it. Doesn't even matter where it is.
You're taking.
I know they can't necessarily do it every time, but against Patrick Mahomes, if they do that every kickoff, just give Patrick Mahomes a free 24 yards. Like, come on, that's just unfair.
Yeah, no, I agree on that. And when I first heard about that too, I was a little baffled. I was just like, and I understand that was a college rule, but I'm like, we're not in college. This is professional football, and I understand the whole safety and everything. Like, yeah, like definitely keep the players safe, but to an extent, as what you guys were saying, I agree with it. Some teams are going to take advantage of that, and they're going to use that. Like you said with Patrick Mahomes, you'll give him a free 24 yards, or could be any other quarterback. I mean, it's going to be interesting. I'm kind of looking forward to see how it ends up, and just to see maybe after, like when preseason starts, just to see how the players and coaches are going to react to that.
I feel like we're going to see this a lot in preseason.
Yeah, it's definitely going to happen. So I'm just trying to be in the middle of it, and just to wait to see what preseason is going to do, and see maybe if preseason, like there's not any complaints or anything, they may keep it, or if there's too many complaints, they may revoke it back to the original. So we just got to wait for that.
I think that's a good way of looking at it. It's just that kind of 1 year. Let's watch it and see what happens. And if it can make a reduction in concussions, then I would be definitely open to it.
Yeah.
One thing I am, that I have to note is players are going to lose their jobs due to this. There's players that are only on a certain team, whatever team it may be, because of their special teams ability. And that goes for kick returner, punt returners. Those guys feel a need and a must to take the ball out and try to gain yards beyond the 25. So all of a sudden you have to teach those guys to calm down, and you really have to take the fair catch. It's just going to change the game a lot, in my opinion.
I feel like you're going to see teams too that I'm trying to think of like the best way to describe my thought process here, but basically they're going to tighten up their roster a little bit more. And what I mean by that is, instead of having to have a roster spot for this guy because he's a great kickoff returner, they're just like, you know what? We don't need that. I'm just going to fill it with some other high-level player that can do more than just return kickoffs, and I'm just going to put anyone out there and tell them to fair catch it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, for a while when the Broncos were having return issues, I was so happy they just had Bryce Callahan in the back there, just making a fair catch, not putting the team back further where Locke was all of a sudden in the 5-yard line. Way down in the past, though. So we'll move on from that.
Anyway, yeah, don't say Locke. Just kidding. But no, it'll be interesting for sure. We'll see what happens.
Definitely.
Okay, final kind of big rule change here that I wanted to talk about as well with you guys is the emergency third quarterback rule. So this one's interesting. There's kind of like a lot to it. I'm not going to like read this verbatim, but basically when the club has to establish their active list for the game and its inactive list for the game, that team can basically say, hey, this guy is our emergency third quarterback that can be eligible to be activated during the game, and it's not going to like take up a roster spot. The reason that this kind of became what it is I believe it was the 49ers.
Yeah, with
Game,
Purdy
yeah,
and
where
Johnson.
Brock Purdy injured his elbow. Yep, and Josh Johnson
In
had
an
a
NFC
concussion.
Championship game.
In the
No,
NFC
no.
Championship
Yeah.
game. Yep. And I think they had like Christian McCaffrey on the sideline warming up his arm,
Mhm.
and then they just like had to run the ball for the rest of the game and just got totally blown up by the Bills.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's interesting. I mean, it's. I feel like I need to see this in action to establish a opinion on it. What do you guys think about this?
Go ahead, Bobby. I'll let you go first.
Oh, no worries. You're good. I think what Brandon was saying is we got to see it in action, see if it does it. I think under some circumstances, like with the 49ers, I think it might be a good move. It just all depends on what when it happens, like what's the effect on it. Maybe again the preseason whole thing I mentioned earlier with the kick returns, or maybe just anytime a player gets injured. Like there's going to be players that are going to get injured. We just got to wait and see what happens to it. I mean, I think, like I said, I'm in the middle of it. I think it's nice to have an extra one just in case, because again, you had Brock that was injured, Jimmy G, and you got everybody else you got that whole team there. That if I would say this, if Brock did not get injured with the 49ers, there would have been a different Super Bowl.
Maybe even with Josh Johnson, even.
And same with Josh Johnson. I would think that if they had that rule, or again, if they wasn't injured, 49ers would have gone to a Super Bowl instead of Philadelphia. But still a good Super Bowl. But I would have seen it as a different outcome.
For me, I honestly am. I like this rule change quite a bit. I understand that you're keeping 53 men on the roster still. So if you want to have a third guy quarterback, your third man quarterback to be on your roster at all times, you're going to have to carry him. They're not extending it to 54. So you'll have to carry that guy, have him be kind of, you put him in as your third string guy. And in order for him to enter into the game, you need to have one player who's either in the tent or one who's in the locker room. So there's no games playing. If for some reason someone's performing badly and you want to put someone else in, that's kind of been taken out the window, which is very nice to see. But for me, I kind of am interested in to see how teams play this game. Do you bring in a few quarterbacks for your practice squad and essentially run through them? Every week you bring up someone for 3 active weeks, and then you move on from them. Then you bring a new quarterback in for 3 active weeks. So it's just a matter of how do you want to do this as well. It's very interesting to me for each NFL team.
Yeah, for sure. And real quick, that's a great point, Ray. Kickoff returns let unknown players showcase themselves and sell themselves and get themselves a roster spot.
I want to add one more player, Devin Hester, as well.
Devin
in
Hester,
Chicago, with all of his returns. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he would have never been accepted as a cornerback. I mean, he wasn't, and then they tried to move him to receiver, where he did have slight success for what he was. But I think again, he wouldn't have had that opportunity, which we were talking about, not having those jobs and having so few of them being taken away. You're taking away a running back position now, essentially, because of that. You're taking away a Hall of Famer.
Yep. Records not being breaking no more by that stuff, possibly. So,
yeah.
Great point. The one thing, hopping back to that rule change, that's interesting too, and that's a great point, John, about like what are the conditions under which this occurs. The other thing that happens is if either injured quarterback is at any point cleared by the medical staff to play, the emergency quarterback has to be removed, and they can't come back into the game as quarterback or any other position. So like if you gave your running back, so this is interesting because I think it's going to dictate how people choose this. If they had chosen Christian McCaffrey and then Brock Purdy in that example is like cleared to come back, Christian McCaffrey cannot come back into the game at any position unless he needs to come back in as emergency quarterback.
Well, I mean, he would have to, if he was designated as that third quarterback, definitely he wouldn't be allowed to come back in. So that's a huge point, and it's I'm so happy to get rid of that. I mean, all power to Kendall Hinton and getting him into the Hall of Fame in a way. But it's one of those things where I don't want to see that scenario happen again.
Mm-hmm.
Something tells me this might not work in the COVID situation.
I mean, that makes that is a very good point, and touche. I'll just say touche. Touche.
But I will also say they're not eligible to use this if they already have 3 quarterbacks on their active list. So if they have 3 quarterbacks on their active list already, they can't do this.
Yeah.
Which I think is interesting because it will dictate how often we see this. If you're going into an NFC Championship game and you have concerns about maybe the health of one of your quarterbacks, you're probably going to have 3 quarterbacks on your active list because you don't want to end up in a situation where you are playing in the NFC Championship game with your emergency quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
This will be interesting for Taysom Hill. I'll tell you that.
Okay, hold up. Is Taysom Hill going to be the default emergency quarterback for this? Because it probably.
Yeah, and then it just has to be. So
it has to be. God, Matt, could you imagine if we trade for Taysom Hill?
Oh, that'd be. I had my own crush though. He's a 49er. Jack Coletto was my next kind of Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill.
Any other thoughts on this? Who do you think our emergency quarterback would be?
I think it has. I'm not quite sure, honestly. I think it's still up for grabs. Is it going to be Ben? I have trouble pronouncing his last name. Excuse me there. Douchey? I call him Douchey.
Douchey.
I always say it wrong, and I say Douchey for some reason.
Ben Douchey from that one.
Yeah. So forgive me on that, but yes, I think he'd be the case, and then we'll see if he's
just make Garrett Bowles the emergency quarterback. Just
there you go.
Yeah.
Just give him the ball, and he'll just maul people. Oh, I'm totally kidding. Do not do that, please. Please do not do that. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to think about it. Maybe this is where Alberto shines. This is where we use Alberto.
Oh, yeah, finally, yes.
He gets out of the doghouse. What happened to Alberto, man? Yeah, we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting. I mean, we might not see this happen at all this year. We might see this happen a lot. So we'll table it for now and see what happens. Speaking of quarterbacks and speaking of something we talked about earlier, which is drama.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I can't Google Russell Wilson's name anymore, just ever. I can't do it. I just can't do it. I can't even think about his name because there's always drama. There's always something. There has to be something going on about Russell Wilson.
She dressed a certain way, and should Russell Wilson be offended? And it's like, I don't care. I didn't
even see that.
It's stuff like that.
I didn't know that.
I saw it one time, and I'm just like,
did you really?
Neat. Great.
And
guys.
the whole Russell Wilson is square.
Yeah.
I had to look that. I literally didn't even know what that meant when I saw that. I mean, maybe I live under a rock, I guess, like Patrick Starr.
Actually, I want to add 2 more. I was going to add 2 more rules.
Yeah.
No, please go ahead.
I was reading them up. I don't know if they're approved or not. I don't know if which ones were doing approved, but I was seeing one where it was the tripping penalty.
Yeah.
The tripping penalty was automatic 15 and automatic first. I'm going to say that's a good choice.
Yeah, personally,
in my opinion. And then the second one was the immediate replay of a 4th down attempt.
Let me pull up that. I actually
So the immediate replay for a 4th down attempt to me makes sense because all plays that are turnovers are reviewed, and it's turnovers on down, so it is a play that should be reviewed. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm not. I don't want to see ticky tack things to be added on like holding or anything like that. It has to be something pretty egregious. It has to be, in my mind, at least, for you to make that kind of switch, and it has to be quite obvious.
Right.
So again, it can't be something on the side, making an impact. I don't want that to be the reason why. It has to be something that has merit to make the change.
Right. Now, just asking your guys' opinion on that.
No, yeah, that's an amazing point.
Yeah.
I think Houston is the one that I totally forgot about that.
I think they proposed that, yeah.
I feel like this is a win-win situation, honestly. Like, you can't. I don't see a situation where this hurts you. As long as you set it up where you can't abuse it, which I'm not even sure how they would abuse it at this point. But
I mean, it should come from New York. They should do a quick replay in New York, and if it needs to be looked upon even more, then they can go ahead and do that. But again, you like to see expedited calls done through New York.
Right.
As many steps that have to be taken here as possible to make sure that the outcome of the game is not determined because a ref missed something or they made the wrong call. Whatever you have to do to avoid that, do it. Like, that's my opinion on this.
And I was going to confirm, Brandon, that it was Houston that did propose that rule for the fourth down. I don't know who did the tripping one. Doesn't say, so maybe it wasn't, but you can find out. So Houston did propose that, and it's funny too. It was Philadelphia that actually proposed the number 0 jersey. So there might be someone in Philadelphia that might have number 0. Don't know who.
Oh, it was
feel
just
like
a
AJ
competition
Brown.
committee. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I don't know. I get weird feelings. But when it comes to the tripping rule, I guess my question is, what are they talking about for certain tripping aspects? Are we talking about when a receiver and a defensive back have accidental tripping and they're right close stride by stride together, and you can't really say whose foot got in what way? To me, accidental tripping, I want that to be kept in the game. I don't want to make a determination as whose foot made the other foot trip and that kind of stuff. I understand.
Like, what is a catch? It's the same thing as what is a
right. That's what I was going to say. How are they going to determine that? Oh, that was intentional tripping. That's what I'm trying to figure out. So that's what I'm trying to comprehend in my brain. Just saying, how are they going to say that? Oh, yeah, that was intentional tripping, or that was unintentional.
Tonight on Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah.
But hey, I'm all for like, if you can see clearly tripping a lot of times on tackles when a guy gets the corner around them. Those are always thrown though. So I'm not quite sure what is expected to be quite different here, to be honest, and what they're going to call differently.
Preseason, just say it. Preseason. Just wait.
Preseason. There you go.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that.
Just get out there preseason. See what happens.
Just don't worry. Preseason. Yeah, that's the new saying. That is.
They're gonna throw the flag on the turf monster for tripping the quarterback.
Yes. Well, there's just a good one. That's a good.
Whole stadium has to move back 15 yards. No, that's interesting. Any other rules that we wanted to go over? There's a whole list of them. Like, I'm sure I probably even missed one.
I'm just looking at. Well, here's one. They're clarifying. They were going to remove the words butt, ram, and spear into like impermissible use of helmet. That was on there.
Okay.
So it's basically the words that are used to describe like when a player uses their helmet.
Against
another player.
It's like an impermissible, like a illegal use of a helmet. So they're not going to say spear or ram or butt.
I mean, I think that just comes down to rhetoric, and let the refs say it the way they want. But hey, we all know what really happened, and that's what that's just simple rhetoric to me.
Yeah,
doesn't make a difference. But the NFL is they're always concerned about player safety and their concussion, even though they had the settlement with the concussions, they're still going to be on high guard.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the competition committees like that. The tripping, they wanted that to be a personal foul. They're saying, I can't really think of anything else really. The 25-yard line return kick.
They did have that they want to put the ball in play at the receiving team's 25-yard line if there's a touchback on a punt.
Yes, that was one.
Which
yeah. That's
so the difference would be
that guy hits leg day if he's punting and he gets a touchback.
And so how much this is taken away from special teams. So again, you bring in someone great like Mike Westhoff, and all of a sudden you can't use him and utilize him in the proper way. Now kickers when they're punting, they're not going to aim to get it within the 5-yard line. They're going to be aiming within the 10. So all offenses are going to be closer. I find this rule to be I really am against this rule because I want kickers to go for punts within the 5. That's exciting to me if you're going to have a punt. If you can't have it returned, that's what I want to see.
I wonder if that's another. It doesn't say. I feel like is probably another one of those 1 year only things, like a trial run.
Yeah.
But we'll see. So
Yeah, that's just what I'm looking at. So
this is fascinating. This will be again preseason.
preseason.
Preseason is going to be lit this year because it's just going to be a bunch of teams testing these rules out and just getting away with shit and seeing what they can do. So that'll be interesting. Anyway, hopping back to Russ drama. I mean, I don't even want to talk about this, to be honest. But did you guys see? So, okay. Whatever Russ did to Seattle, like, show me where he hurt you. Because you won't retire his number, even though he won a Super Bowl for you and then took you back to the Super Bowl. You, like, seem to show him no respect at all. Your players, KJ Wright, came out, former Seahawks linebacker, who was a teammate of Russ, and basically said this could go down as the biggest trade heist in NFL history, and John Schneider and Coach Carroll are geniuses for pulling this off. I mean, I don't know. I guess part of me gets that, like, he talked about the Broncos contract that we gave him, and part of me gets that, but just, like, can we just stop? Can we just stop, please? Like, I'm so tired of this. And then Zach Allen comes out and is like, Russ is a superstar. He's the hardest working guy in the building, who obviously came over from the Cardinals, I think. Cardinals or Washington, I can't remember which one. And obviously, is a new teammate of Russell Wilson, so he doesn't have all this, like, implicit previous bias. He comes in, this is what he sees. Mike McGlinchey, same thing, new guy comes in. Basically, he's like, I hated Russ because he beat us all the time. To be in the locker room with him and be in the huddle with him is awesome. He's a workhorse. Nobody in the building works harder than him. And that's a consistent theme. People you hear about Russ is that he's the hardest worker. He's dedicated to it. He puts the work in. Like, I'm just so tired of the drama around Russell Wilson. Like, did you guys see this? What did you think about this?
Yeah, for me, when it comes to the numbers, I'm not a stickler in retiring numbers or, keeping them for a certain player. We've seen that plenty of times with Terrell Davis. I mean, people want to retire his number. You see Philip Lindsay then wear it, and all of a sudden people get attached to the number 30 with a different player, now with Caden Stearns. So I'm not the hugest fan of having someone retire a number, but definitely would like it to be kind of in their ring of fame or whatever they have. But to give it to someone like Artie Burns just felt kind of it just felt like they were taking a jab a little bit there, because Artie Burns isn't someone who you look towards to be one of your top cornerbacks. He's kind of at the end of your depth chart. And when it comes again to KJ Wright, even he had all this long kind of thought out process on what he thought was wrong with Russell, and then all of a sudden at the end, what's left out is he actually thinks that Russell Wilson has a great chance to be a comeback player of the year and have a good year. So I think a lot of this is narrative is going on as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. Yeah. I didn't even see that. That's how narrative basis is. I went and looked at that quote. I didn't see that part of the quote. Where is that?
I mean, it's in the full length article. You have to go kind of all the way down to the end. I mean, that's where it gets, they get the click and then you read enough of it and then they kind of hope you get off of it. And then you don't finish it. That's what some clickbait is at this point, except for some very good sources that are local that we all trust.
Yeah, no, I agree on that. I'm just reading the quotes that Mike did, and like I said, I think definitely with new coaching around, I think we're going to see a new and improved Russell Wilson. He did have that surgery postseason, so hopefully that helped him out. And
he's also slimmer.
He is.
By a lot.
So I was watching Pat McAfee today, or a clip from Pat McAfee, and he was just explaining just how he looks. He looks slimmer, and
he looks so small.
He looks good. Like, he looks good.
Not small, but like this boy was thick with 3 C's last year.
Yeah, he was.
And I think I read that he did that on purpose to try to not be injured. And part of this too, and I didn't even think about this until now. I'm interested to see what his playing weight was compared to the rest of his career. Maybe he's just not used to playing at that weight, especially if he's trying to move around that much. Like, you're going to feel sluggish. Everything's going to suck, even if you're injured. Like, I think that's going to be interesting to monitor. I'm not saying he's going to, that's going to be the one reason. Slim Russell Wilson, he's going to become a back to a Hall of Famer. I mean, that's not. But I mean, it's interesting. It could make it
It adds
If
to
it's-
his running aspect to his game. I mean, last year I think he was kind of going for the Hackett system where it was a little bit more pocket based, or you're not having boots or having plays where you're having your quarterback in motion. And Russell Wilson really didn't have an opportunity to move around much, so maybe he was thinking, let me pack on the pounds. In order to be able to stand strong in the pocket, make those throws, gain some strength maybe while he was trying to do it as well. But now under Sean Payton, all of a sudden he can start to move the ball and run the ball for scrambles for 6 yards, and he knows when to slide, he knows when to get out of bounds. We trust him there. So his mobility will go up, and then this just will increase receivers being open because they don't know if you're covering 11 players instead of 10 now with your quarterback instead of being just a statue.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening.
Hey Gage.
It's what I'm wondering. I'm legitimately curious to know, and I have no way of confirming this, but I wonder if Hackett reached out to Russell Wilson before the season and was like, I want you at this way. And Russ put on the pounds because that's what Hackett requested for his offense. And then similarly, I wonder if Sean Payton was like, no. Go back down. You were too heavy. I want you this way. I have no way of proving this. It might have just been that's what Russ wanted to do. But I'm interested to know if maybe because that, again, you said it, the Hackett offense, Hackett had a very specific system in mind for him. Hackett obviously was completely out of his element as a head coach. But I wonder if he went into the season telling Russ, hey, this is my plan for you. I need you to be it this way. And that just, if anything, shows the dedication of Russ because he's like, okay, coach, you got it. I'll go put on 20 pounds.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, it's just one of those things where now all of a sudden you saw it in the end of the season in the Kansas City game where they were starting to drive and they were getting the ball moving. That game was starting to get close. Russell Wilson was starting to make those plays where he was not hesitating. He was going to get the first downs. He was going to get kind of bigger chunk plays. And that makes a difference when your quarterback can get you 40 yards in a game. It does.
I do remember this, that it was kind of like him wanting to do it, but my question was more just I wonder behind the scenes if that might have happened because you're not going to know. That's not going to be confirmed anywhere, I don't think. But I mean, it could very well just be that that's what Russ wanted to do. And maybe at the end of the season, he was like, you know what? No, that's not my game. And he went back. So who knows?
And I agree, though. You need to have some weight on you to take some of those blows. You see a lot of those guys who are, six-pack guys. They take a hit. It's going to last them, for a long time before they can get back in, and they're going to feel it for the next week. So I understand wanting to have some weight on you, but at the same time, you still have to be able to be your old self, your mobile self. I think that's the difference here.
Yeah.
I think with the change, we're definitely going to see a different Russell Wilson that we've seen probably for years, even when he was in Seattle. I think this is going to be a change in preseason. So,
what are your thoughts here on Clayton's comment? I can pull it up. Russ close to 4,000 yards and 30 TDs. Thoughts and rushing about 600 yards. That's what I really want to talk about. What do you think a solid rushing number would be for Russell Wilson this year?
I would love that. I don't know if they're going to let him run that much.
I don't think so either.
Because I think, although you bring up an interesting point, because I do think, and I've said this on probably 8 episodes at this point, we're going to run the ball. That is the direction that this offense is going. We are going to run the hell out of the ball.
I mean,
I don't know if it's going to all be Russ. I'd say maybe closer to 400 yards.
I like that number too.
I mean, with Kareem back, I think he's gonna get back on that, and then.
Well, can we talk about the fact that Javonte Williams is back?
Yes.
Holy shit.
Thank you for that name because I hate to say I kind of forgot about it because you never hear him
because he's been gone.
Because he's been gone.
Yeah.
So Javonte Williams, Kareem, and then of course you got Russ. You got 3 guys right there.
Yeah,
So,
and I think what's great about this is we know Williams is doing very well in his rehab, obviously. But another thing that suggests it is the Broncos let go of 2 running backs today. Put them on waivers for different reasons. Again, we were talking about bringing in Fry, and again some of the other stuff they were trying to do with those moves. But at the same time, that shows that to me, they trust in Williams. They like where his knee is at. They're going to probably put him through the program in the right way, and we'll see how he comes out at the end.
I also think it shows the trust they have in Samaje Perine.
Yes,
I
that's
still
a good
think he's
point.
going to surprise people, and he's going to be good. And I think he's going to start the year as our starter for several games. I think it also maybe shows the faith they have in Tyler Beatty, who kind of just like
Yes.
stuck onto the roster and just like stuck around, and like we haven't cut it. Like we got these other guys, and Tyler Beatty just stays there. Like we might have a plan for Tyler Beatty.
I remember when I was listening to someone, I won't say the news station or the person, but they were like, can you remind me what position you play? And for me, that's kind of the funny things when I see Beatty, I'm like, I know who he is. I want him to be on this roster. I think a lot of us draft people saw him last year and we were very excited about him. And I think he just proved it. I think he had one game essentially where he was able to prove himself and earn that roster spot, at least at this point.
Yeah, it'll be interesting for sure. But damn, Javonte, man, I missed you. Come back healthy. Don't go back. Don't rush back. Come back healthy. But we miss you.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
Awesome. Any other Broncos thoughts before we take advantage of the mainly part of the podcast name and switch it up a little bit?
I think we covered a lot of good topics. Obviously the Broncos added in some tight ends, but besides that, nothing too big has changed.
All we do is tight ends. It's insane.
Well, I mean, it sounds like they're doing. The Broncos themselves felt like they didn't have enough tight ends, and with Williams coming back, they felt like they could make the move. And it sounds like they're trying to find those tight ends that can be that blocker and also still be, have some potential outside and instead of being in line.
Well, one thing that interests me, as long as we're talking about tight ends for a hot second, is what does this talk about how we're going to use Greg Dulcich? Because if we're trying to bring in all these blocking tight ends or extra guys just to be another body out there, I don't think they're going to have Dulcich block much. I think that guy's going to be purely a weapon, and I am so here for it. I am so hyped for this.
I'm looking forward to Greg and seeing what he does.
Don't ever cut your hair, please. Never. Go to the grave with that.
Don't. He's got. I think he's got a mustache too. Don't let him.
Please.
Mustache either. Yeah, keep that. This is. Yeah.
But
Real
anyway,
quick.
interesting.
Real quick, wanted to get to Ray. Who are the two backs?
That we cut. So Tyreek McAllister was one of them.
Yeah.
We waived him for Elliott Fry. And then John, you got the other one.
Jacquees Patrick, which a lot of us were very excited for. So that was a surprise, at least for me.
Surprising. Yeah, that's the one that made me think like Tyler Beatty is there's something here.
Yeah, that's what I agree with, definitely. So let's I feel like we've covered the Broncos, even though we could keep going on. I'm sure if we wanted to. Let's make our transition. That's
all right. So we're called mainly Broncos for a reason. We mainly talk about the Broncos. But the Denver Nuggets, guys, the Denver Nuggets are in the finals for the first time in franchise history after sweeping the LA Lakers, who I hate with a burning passion.
Dude,
and
there you go.
LaFlop, who I gained some mild respect for when he said how good Jokic was. But we're here and we love it. And game one is tomorrow, and I'm losing my mind.
Yeah, I'm excited.
It's gonna be awesome. Losing it.
And for me personally, it's just nice to be able to watch some basketball with the Nuggets because I have Comcast, so it's been a long time, and I'm so excited. So it's been hard for me being able to watch them. It's been a fun experience. It's so nice within the community, especially in Denver. You're walking around, you see people in their Nuggets gear. You can talk to them openly about it. It just gives you a way to speak to strangers in a friendly manner, and that's the best part. When the Broncos won the Super Bowl, how many people did you just all of a sudden start talking to about the Broncos? You could just speak to anyone, and that can be the same thing with the Nuggets. That can be the same thing. Can you imagine people just going around?
Nuggets fans don't exist. Denver is not a basketball town.
Oh.
Okay. We're not a basketball place. We weren't a football town either, supposedly at one point.
Yeah, I would tell you to come here and figure that out for yourself, NBA media. But no vacancy. We don't want you.
Yes.
Go away. No, we're everywhere. We're everywhere. I'm so excited. What are you guys doing for the finals? You guys got any plans?
For me, it's just going to be focused on the game and enjoying it. And I'm one of those people who kind of has like a mojo feeling. So if I feel like the Nuggets are doing bad, it's on me. So I have to make sure I might have to step away to get the mojo going for them again.
You're one of those people who's like, oh, I can't watch anymore. If I don't watch, they do well.
Yeah, if that happened, that's what happened with the Avs last year. Basically, when they were pushed against a little bit against the wall, I said I can't watch because they're going to lose then. So
that is true. That's fair. So I'm going to blame you.
That okay?
I was during that. I was talking to Cameron.
John must have been watching. Just kidding.
I was doing that with Cameron with the Avs, and I'm like, and he's just like, don't talk to me, don't text me, not until the end of the game. Every single game. Otherwise, we'll jinx it, and it worked.
You'll throw a football at him.
Yeah. Yeah. I just that background your background just giving me memories. I can just think of it yesterday. If
you guys didn't know, Bobby recorded this. Bobby was the guy that recorded this video, which I did not know until today. But legend. If I had the video, I would play it, but I don't have it in here. But we will get it. Well, it's going to be in here.
Cameron's got it. Just ask him.
I know he has it.
It's one of those videos where I've seen it used by other people, not relate. It's not from Cam, and you're just like, wow, it has become that far where people are just using it for kind of shock, funny humor.
God, that's amazing. I know. I'm so excited. I mean, I'm. What do you guys think about the matchup? Because between the two teams, I definitely wanted to play the Heat. I did not want to play Boston in Boston because they finished with a higher record than us, so they would have had home court.
I
would have not liked it.
It's a huge difference. Yeah, it was kind of cool. It'll be a challenging matchup with the Celtics. So I think with the Heat, it's going to be an easier.
So let me ask you guys.
Have a good night. Thanks for hopping in. Go ahead.
Thanks, Gage. One thing I wanted to ask you guys. Obviously, the Nuggets they got this done easily. With the Lakers got done early. When you have Boston versus the Heat, that game took to 7 games. What are your thoughts on rest versus a team who is probably going to be obviously more exhausted, but they've been playing and they're kind of on a hot streak right now? What are your thoughts on that? And does one team have the advantage going into the finals because of that?
Brandon,
I've been
I saw
racking my brain about this for a long time, and I think I have an answer. I definitely agree with, and I'm not discrediting the fact that the Heat are on a roll. But a 7-game series, especially that series where they were very close to blowing it, that's mentally taxing, emotionally draining, not to mention the physical side. Yes, they're on a roll, and yes, they're professional athletes, and they're going to play through it. They're also playing in Denver. They literally booked their flight to Denver before Game 7 because they need to get more training in altitude. I mean, I do think that it's a valid question, and I think that there can even be too much. It can almost be too much rest. You don't play enough. If you don't play for 9 days, you come in, you're lethargic, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the case. I mean, these Denver Nuggets, they are hungry and they are angry and they want to win this in 4 games. So they weren't sitting on their ass watching TV for those 9 days. I'll tell you that much. I will say, I don't remember who I saw did report this, but someone that was reporting on the practice said that just the vibe of the Denver practice was so different than the Heat practice. The Heat weren't even practicing starters. So I think that kind of gives you a little bit of an answer. They're winded. They're tired. I mean, again, I think they're gonna give us their all. And I'm not even saying I'm not even saying we're gonna blow them out or anything. I mean, if they're NBA players, they're gonna be fine. But I will say I think I'm leaning more towards the benefit being with the Nuggets for having 9 days off.
Yeah. What about you, Bobby?
Same. I think we needed the rest for sure, especially that sweep too. We were on the roll, and I was so glad about that sweep too because I'm not a big fan of the Lakers either.
Oh, I hate
them. So I'm with you on there.
And there's such a big community of Bronco Laker fans. It's just
that's not.
And if I'm
why? If you're listening,
tell me. Explain, please.
Explain yourself.
Yeah, I want to know
what happened in life. What went wrong?
Were you dropped as a child? That's probably a bad question to ask.
Probably. But going back to that topic, I think it was great to have that 9 days because I get to relax and everything. And nice too, game 1 and 2 is here in Denver. We got the home court advantage. So I think that gave us a complete, just total advantage that we're home. 2 games would be good. I think once we go to Miami, I think then it's time to get working on it. But I think, the old saying, when you go down, when you're in altitude for so long, you go down below it, you're better.
It's
you're
so
a lot
true.
better.
It is so true. When I've changed elevations, it just feels like, hey, I am getting a ton of oxygen. I can go run.
I can breathe.
What's going on, Avatar?
I can breathe.
I can breathe. I can breathe some air or
You
air.
know what? I'm actually never tested this out. Like I'm a self-proclaimed obsessed gym rat. I've never not worked out at altitude. I've literally never lifted not in Colorado
one day
because I've been here for 28 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've been here for 13 because up there you see Cubs and everything else
I'm
from the Midwest. Been back there a couple of times. Yeah. And I could definitely tell the difference every time I go. Like I could and of course when you go back here, then you're just like, you're gasping for air. I think that's why Miami
should go down to sea level, hit some PRs.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's why Miami worked their butts off so much because they're like, oh man, we're 2 games, we're up high. When we go back down there, we'll be like piece of cake. We'll be fine.
Can't have altitude sickness now, so you might as well just get accustomed as soon as possible. And even if you can't practice, just go ahead, get some rest, take some time away from the family, let them know you still love them, do some video chat. But besides that, you're in the altitude and you got to get yourself ready.
It's go time.
Yes.
It's go time.
Man, I'm so hyped. All right. So predictions. Who you got and how many games?
I'll go first. I have the Nuggets and I'll take them in. I'll take them in 6, actually.
Ooh.
I think it'll take a little longer.
Nuggets, I was saying 5.
Let me ask you this. This is what's going to actually determine my real what would game 5, I always get a little confused. Game 5 would be home for the Nuggets, right? Sometimes they do 3 in a row and then they kind of finish it out. Nuggets. Okay, we have Avatar saying Nuggets in 5.
So
I'm also saying Nuggets
5.
in 5, but I believe it's at home. Yeah,
it's
game
at home.
5 will be at home. Yes.
All right, so Nuggets in 5. That's going to switch it up. That really does make the difference. Honestly, I feel like when you're at home, you want to
one win away.
Yes, and you want to be at home to get all the. I mean, I understand you're fine wherever you can beat, the Swell Sports, but yeah, you want to do it in front of your fans. You want to celebrate with your family, just right there and able to do it. It's beyond words and beyond what I can imagine.
Heaven forbid, Game 7 would also be at home.
Heaven forbid, but yes,
we got all the advantages here. I'm also saying Nuggets in 5 because I respect for Jimmy Butler, nothing but respect. I love you. Also, he's a massive Demaryius Thomas fan.
Yes,
I mean we've seen it. I mean he has a lot of photos of him wearing the jersey. I think he's been to Broncos games even. So yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
There was a tweet or something. I don't know who it was, but it showed said just how much Jimmy Butler loved the Broncos because of Demaryius.
It was a clip of a reporter asked about. I don't remember what reporter.
I can't remember which one, but yeah, I saw it today.
I'm hyped. I mean, again respect for Jimmy. I don't know. He's kind of the only massive thing that the Heats have. I mean, everyone's going to talk about Bam. Bam is a good player. Everyone's like, oh, Bam Adebayo is going to lock down Jokic. Did you watch the Western Conference Finals?
Yeah.
Anthony Davis couldn't do anything.
He looked silly.
Come on. We're going to make him make tough shots. Did you watch the game?
Yeah.
Those were 2 of the craziest shots I've ever seen in my life. And they both happened in the same series against Anthony Davis.
Beautiful. They were definitely.
I'm so excited. Anyway, final thoughts, closing remarks, additional comments. Go Nuggets.
Go Nuggets. Go Broncos. There is no offseason ever for Colorado sports, so let's just keep coming.
The Rockies don't exist.
Yes.
I'll just pretty much go Nuggets, go Broncos, preseason. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, preseason. Chaos. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Mainly Broncos podcast. Thank you so much for joining us, Bobby and John. You guys want to, name drop anything? Tell people where they can follow you. Tell people where else they can find you and listen to you.
Yeah, so tomorrow on MHRT's network, Orange and Brew podcast, which you can find us at orange_and_brew. We're having our first live show with MHRT. Really excited about that. We're coming at the 2 p.m. slot and just really excited to start talking some Broncos and just dive into it and finally be live, be able to take people's questions. And I think at 2 o'clock, maybe people are having some breaks, so you can come in, ask your questions. Would love to have you join us.
Congratulations. Welcome to the family.
Yes.
Thank you.
Congrats on that. I just changed my name to my Twitter handle.
Yeah.
It's going to be B_Stevens93. Feel free to follow me and trying to get back in that Twitter world too. So
do you really want to get back into the Twitter world though?
It's
been out of it for a while.
It's tough. And I see notifications all the time of Brandon and Cam every single time. Like just light up my phone, like even in the middle of the night. I'm like, so you guys go to sleep.
I
was like, you keep me up, man. But no, I'm trying to get back on there. So anybody that wants to follow me, Twitter handles right there, B_Stevens93.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Follow Bobby, follow John. Come out and check out John and Orange and Brew tomorrow. Super excited for that. And follow Mainly Broncos at Mainly Broncos. And thank you so much for hopping in. We will see you next week. Last week, we did have that week off. We are back on schedule. Cam will be back next week, and we'll be rocking and rolling. Thank you guys so much. Have a great night.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried in my grave. To the system, I don't wanna be a slave. I've been doing shit my way, or the highway.